An example of a simple pinball machine type game. I have got button A to be hooked up to make this little servo motor go to one side, and then I've got button B and it goes over to another side. I've got pin 1 set up to have as a keep score, keep a tally of the stuff that I've got. You can see I've got 130 points there. The ball ran through another thing and it picked up another 10 points, so it's now 140. It bounced off another thing, it's 150, but now it went through something else, and now I've got some bonus points of 100, so now that went to 250. We're going to show you how to hook this up, and when we go back to on-site learning, we can show you how we can hook up other external things to the simple microbit and interact with it. We can then use all the different materials that we have and then make something out of it. So it's no longer just you interacting with the buttons over here, but maybe there's an actual lever that you press, or a physical button that you can actually press to activate these things. Let me show you how this is made. Well, let me just run you through the actual code first. So when you start this up, we're going to set two things. These are called variables, and variables are like empty containers. A glass jar, for example, called keep score, I'll set that to 0 because when I start the game up, no one is going to have any points. I also want to set another container, another variable, another empty glass jar, also to 0. When I press button A, I'm going to change this thing called a servo, which is this. A servo is a type of motor, and a servo motor can be directed to specific degrees. So unlike a car motor where it just keeps turning and it is only stopped or slowed down by a brake, a servo motor has specific degrees that it can go to. So let's say I go to 24 degrees over here. Once this refreshes, I can show you that 100, this was 0, 180 was over this side, and if I press this, well, now that's 24 degrees. So hopefully you understand that. I'll chuck that back in there. Button B is going to go to 0, so button B is going to go back to this side, button A is going to go to that side. When I have button or pin 1, what I've got hooked up to that is, let's say my ball runs through a particular thing and it has a sensor, and once it passes over the sensor, it is going to tell my empty container to no longer be empty, but it's going to make it have 10 inside that container. And again, we call this container a variable. We'll get to that. I then want to then show a number on my LED screens, and I don't just want to show the keep score number, I want it to show the actual full score. And even though I only collected, say, 10 points, it went through one time, I still want to have this thing here to say show number, bonus score plus the keep score, because I want it to be not only a running tally of just keep score, I want it to be of the whole game. What are the bonus points I have got together with just the normal points? And then I'm going to clear the screen. On pin 2, I have done this where pin 2, let's say it's hooked up to another area of the game or another area of a physical product where it can then pick up more points. So I've said that change my container, my variable, to 100, and then show the number bonus score, which was this, plus what the current keep score is. Pause it, well, we actually don't need pause 200 milliseconds there. That is, we don't need that. The reason why we don't need that is because any number more than a single digit has to keep scrolling on there anyway. So let's just delete that and then clear the screen. So this is actually really easy in terms of a code, hopefully for you guys to be able to understand. And I'm going to show you how to be able to do this. Once we get our head around how to make variables, as well as how we can control stuff that is external to the actual microbit, like this, where we hook things up, things get really interesting and we can have lots of fun with that. So let me show you how we did this. New project, let's just call it Pinball School, create, and we're presented with a familiar interface. We have got our microbit emulator simulator on the left hand side. Once this loads, we've got all the things that we can input into our programming code in the middle, and then we've got our programming code on the right hand side. Not sure why this is taking a while to load, but let's just persist in any case. So on startup, we want to create those two containers, and they are called variables. So let's do this at the moment and make a variable called, let's just call it normal points. Okay, and we want to create a new variable as well called bonus point or bonus points. And then what we want is to set this on startup to be nothing, as well as set another one to be nothing, and one of them is just going to be bonus points and one of them is going to be normal points. We don't need forever, we can get rid of that. Now we want to hook up the buttons to be able to do stuff. So if I click on input on button A, let's just move this out so I can see it. On button A, we want it to change a servo motor. Now, so far, you've been just using stuff with basic and in the inputs, and now we've introduced you to variables. Another new thing to introduce you to is this pin. So we're going to say servo write pin 0, because that's where we want to hook it up to. And on button A, I want to press it to go to the right hand side. Actually, I'm going to change that. I'm going to make it to B. That makes sense. The right hand side should move it to the right hand area. I'm going to right click and duplicate this and say on button A, change that to 0. Now, for some reason, my emulator is not working over here. The simulator is not. Oh, here we go. Okay, so if I press button B, it goes to that side. Press button A, goes back to that side. I'm happy with that. Now to build the function for when it touches something that's connected to number 1 and touches something when it's connected to number 2. So let us do that. We're going to go onto input and we're going to say on pin 0 pressed. So at school, we could hook up an alligator clip onto this, and then at the other end of the alligator clip, we can hook it up to a bit of tin foil or something. And if we had a ball that was made out of tin foil as well, once it touches that tin foil plate, it will then trigger this to be pressed. So on pin 0 pressed, I want to change my bonus point by 10. Sorry, my normal points by 10. And I also want to then display it. But before I display it, I want to make sure, so I say show number, instead of this right here, something that you haven't encountered necessarily before is that we can change this. Anything white with a circle or oval kind of area there, we can change it to do something else. So here we go with maths, and I want to do a plus. So I want to move this out here. I want to hook that up there. I want to say this plus something else. And what do I want to plus? I want to plus my normal points. And notice how this red thing wants to be clipped into here. It's magnetic, so it changes that. And I also want to change the bonus points. So hook that up to there. So it's now going to show the number of my normal points plus my bonus points. If this is 0, like I set it to here, but this is 10, it's just going to show me 10. But if this bonus points had picked up something else, it's still going to show that as well. After that, we will clear the screen, even though it scrolls through anyway. Even though 10 will cycle through this screen, we still want to be able to clear the screen. From here, I can then right click and duplicate this. Don't work harder, work smarter. and we want to change pin 2, and this one needs to be pin 1 because my servo is already hooked up to pin 0. So on pin 1 press, it's actually going to, again, I'm not sure why that doesn't work. So pin 1 press, it's going to show 10 points, and say my ball crosses over the pressure pad of what is hooked up to pin 2, it's going to give me a bonus point, but I've got to change this. So bonus points is 100 there. Play my simulator again, and it runs through. I've got 10 points there, got 20 points. It goes through a bonus point area. Now I've got 120 points. Click there. My paddle is all automatically, not automatically, it's at my, it's already to the left-hand side. Now I want this to go to the right-hand side. What I could do is set my servo to 90 degrees in the middle to start off with. So I could say set servo pin to be 0, so it's totally in the middle, so that now when I actually do start, now this actually will move. Okay, so this is I think it's simple, but I do appreciate that there might be a steep learning curve, but this is why we have recorded the video for you guys to refer back to. Hopefully the concepts that we have covered here today have been fairly easy, even though hooking it all up may have seemed a little bit complicated. When we get back on site, we'll explore some of this kind of stuff in the coming weeks as well. Have a go at this. Make sure you screenshot this. Have a go at modifying things as well. You know, instead of just writing the number, you could have, you could show something first, and maybe the show now I'm moving all my code out. I don't want to do that. Just move that back in there. Maybe the show icon shows me I don't know, a smile or whatever else when I get a bonus point. Whatever. Have a go at modifying this. See how you go. And make sure you take screenshots of this, put in your design tech journal, and reflect on what you learned from it and what the process was like. I look forward to seeing what you guys are able to do in class.